Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Goal Line Stand, a show here on Shady Network, Shady Sports Network, about the NFL. I'm Michael Washington. I'll be the primary host of the show. I have my co-host Krish with me. We also have two new faces to at least the network as far as shows are concerned, but not interviews, I believe. And Kenyon Bernie, who plays offensive line indoors, I believe right now. You're indoors, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And quarterback Justin Arth, who I believe is a free agent at this current time.
Yep.
Yep, definitely. All right. Well, perfect. At least I got that right. It's a good way to start the show there.
Have a job right now, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Hey, I mean, a good start's a good start, right?
Yep.
Tonight on the show, well, first and foremost, let's go around. Justin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start there. Get the formalities out of the way.
Yeah. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Justin Arth. Quarterback, as we've kind of already mentioned before. Currently an outdoor free agent. Played a little bit of arena ball for the past 3 years at 4 different teams, and kind of been all over the place. Had some NFL and CFL workout opportunities, things like that. So I've kind of been in the building of some of these places and kind of know my way around it. So honored to be on the show, and go follow me on the socials, JArthQB11 on Instagram and Justin Arth QB on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now. Got a YouTube channel and all that other kind of stuff too. So try to make my own content and get some coaching stuff out to you guys. So yeah, go follow me on there, and I'll probably be doing some quarterback breakdowns if I get some time this fall with all the NFL guys.
Oh, we will definitely make that a segment for you, Justin, on the shows that you're able to appear on. I know some schedules get kind of hectic sometimes, but we will definitely.
And I know a couple guys in NFL locker rooms too. So if we want a nice Titans quarterback room call or something like that, I might be able to make that happen. No problem.
All right. Oh, look at that! Look at
that! Hey, he's bringing out the big guns
right off the bat.
I know about 6 guys in different rooms across the league right now. So.
Look at that right off the bat.
Stop showing off.
hey, it's first NFL show. You got to get the viewers in.
Yes. He knows what's up. How about you, Kenyon? What about you, man? Give us a little introduction about yourself, bro.
All right. I'm from Akron, Ohio. I just got done playing my season with the West Texas Warbirds. That was my first NAL season last year. I would say I did pretty doggone well, if I do say so myself. But we all know how our season ended. But it's just we got steps to make, and I feel very confident in what we got coming up. But this is like my second year in arena, so I'm just looking for the next step.
Next step, yeah, for sure. Well, good luck to you, man, on that journey. Obviously, we'll be here to witness that as we move forward with this as well. And obviously, Bucket Hat Krish over here, we know Hot Take City. He's going to be, I'm sure, dropping all kinds of hot takes throughout the season. Am I right with that, Krish? I can expect that to happen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I figured as much. There's no doubt about that with you. It could be any show. It doesn't even have to be a show, and he's going to drop a hot take. That's for sure. Well, let's start off, guys. A big week surrounding some running backs. We'll start with Dalvin Cook. 1 year, $8.6 million, the highest amount of guaranteed money for any running back this year that signed, even at that 1 year deal. The Jets have made some really big offseason acquisitions and moves. What's the thought process behind Dalvin Cook signing with them? And is this kind of I guess is it indicative of how they think about Brees, or do you think it's just more of an insurance policy because of the knee injury for Brees? We'll start with anybody. I don't care who. Just go ahead. Somebody hop right in on that.
Go ahead, Kenyon. I'll let you go first on this one.
It's a lot. Yeah, I would say it would be probably more of an insurance policy because you always got to have that next man up. You know what I'm saying? That next man that could come in and just show that razzle dazzle. So I'm not even opposed to what they're doing over there. I think they're trying to win. They're trying to win right now. So I think that's my little take on it. I don't have too much on it.
Yeah, no, hey, I mean, sometimes that's all it is. It's pretty straightforward. Justin, what about you, man? What are your thoughts over there in New York?
So, I mean, you look at what the Jets are bringing in. I mean, for all the Patriots fans out there and all the other AFC East guys and Buffalo Bills fans that constantly want to hate on the Jets. I mean, hey, I'm a Falcons and Vikings fan too. I still hate on the Jets. I mean, you look at what the Jets are doing. At some point, we can't slander them anymore because they've got too much. This is a legitimate team. I still have my doubts about things. I still think it's going to be a little more of a rough patch than what people think. I still think they make the playoffs because I think this roster is too talented. But with the addition of Dalvin Cook, it's a little bit of an insurance policy for Breece Hall solely, but by the fact that if he's not in the lineup week 1, you have Dalvin, which is fine. But the Jets running back room is one of the better running back rooms without Dalvin Cook in the NFL anyway. And so I think at this point, this is them. They saved up, so to speak, they saved up the money to build their own house. And when they were building out the house, they were not just saying, hey, let's just have a house. They were taking the house and saying, hey, I'm adding the LED light bulbs. I'm adding the rotisserie chicken maker. I'm adding all the different luxury items, like the big walk-in closet, the shower that plays your music for you on a snap of a hand. They're adding in every single little piece, and in a way, it's a luxury signing to them. And they're taking money that Aaron Rodgers gave back to the team to help him have more opportunities to go win. So, I mean, go on Jets, go try to go win football games. I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting to see these guys. But, I mean, Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, 1-2 punch, and you still have Zonovan Knight, Michael Carter, and guys like that. I mean, it's a really good running back room and hard to split carries. But, hey, down the stretch, you're going to have probably 4 or 5 fresh running backs, which could help you maybe win in the playoffs. But running backs are also being devalued in the league, and that's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, we'll get on that subject before the start of the season too, as far as that's concerned, because I got a very strong opinion about that. Krish, you're the resident Patriots fan here. I'm sorry. What about you, man? What are your take? Are you still hating on the Jets despite all these, old gentlemen coming in? Old gentlemen.
The thing is, it's hard for me to even hate on them because I know we're gonna get swept by them. They are by far, in my opinion, they're shaping up to be a top 5 offense in the NFL. Dalvin Cook is really interesting to me. He was my fantasy running back for the past 2 years. In my opinion, you could argue that he's been a number 1 running back in the league. I would say for 2 years, if not very least top 3. So he's consistent. They're getting a great player. $8.6 million. It's obviously, like you said, running backs are being devalued. But it's also Dalvin Cook has a little bit of a legal issue too. I kind of saw a little bit of that I heard rumors about a suspension possibly, which is part of the reason why that money doesn't really hit the 10 million mark. Maybe they try to go a little under just in case. But they got a great player. They got a great athlete. And Breece Hall, he's a receiving back. So you can use him in the receiving game. You can switch him out. I personally think this is the best running back duo in the league right now.
So you made some interesting points there as far as the money was concerned, the legal issues and whatnot. Obviously, the Jets don't have any concern about a possible suspension coming out of that in that sense. Otherwise, you don't make a move like that. And it's one of the highest guaranteed monies for any running back signed this year on a per year basis. So that is key when you're talking about this. Now, for me, the interesting part about this, and this is the second part of this topic, is Breece Hall was activated from the PUP list today. So it's not like it was one of those things where they were worried about him possibly missing the first 6 weeks. What I don't understand about this move is who is their wide receiver 2? That's the big question to me. I feel like wide receiver is a little bit more of a question mark than that running back room without Dalvin Cook. You had, like Justin had said, you had Michael Carter who produced in that offense 2 years ago. You went out, drafted Breece Hall, who in my opinion 2 years ago in college when Najee was there too, was the best running back in the nation, even over Najee. And then you bring in Israel Abakanda, who's got insane speed and explosive playability. this year. Was Dalvin really a necessity, and was this them overstepping themselves by buying into their own hype to view it as a luxury signing when they still don't have room to be a luxury signing? Because right now, the only thing they've won is a paper championship.
Yep.
And the AFC is tough. The AFC tough is one of the toughest divisions. And even with the Patriots, not looking as like talented as normal, that division is still a very tough division to win. I mean, Miami, Buffalo. Buffalo, maybe their window's closing a little bit, but I don't know if this signing was the correct signing for the Jets, in my personal opinion. Sure, it brings in a sensational player in Dalvin Cook. I'm a Florida State guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league for sure, absolutely. But I don't know if overall, if this was the correct move for the Jets, and I don't know if this was them possibly buying into their own hype. Does Breece Hall being activated off the PUP list, does that seem like an odd signing to anybody now, or is it just maybe them just saying, we're going to keep fresh legs and hopefully make a playoff push?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I pulled up the Jets depth chart here, and yeah, you've got your Allen Lazards, Randall Cobbs, and Mecole Hardman. I mean, I'm a big Georgia guy, born and raised in Georgia, so I love me some Mecole. But I mean, I think they've got a solid. Yeah, none of those guys I think scream number 2 receiver behind Garrett Wilson. But you at least have Lazard and Cobb who are familiar with Aaron Rodgers, and I think you trust Aaron Rodgers to get the most out of a receiving core. But I think what this is kind of more doing is simulating or recreating that 2019, 2020 Packers offense. Where you had that true two-headed monster, and you have Nathaniel Hackett there. And so I think it's really kind of recreating, even to an extreme, that kind of offense they had there, and then just trusting Aaron Rodgers to make the receivers better around him with at least 2 guys that you're familiar with and a speed demon in Mecole Hardman, and maybe one of these other guys lower on the depth chart step up and start making some plays too. Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about the wide receiver locker or the wide receiving core there, but it's Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, regardless of whatever adjustment phase that they have to go through maybe the first 6 weeks of the season. I feel like they'll still be in the playoff contention at the very end, and I'm not necessarily concerned about it. I think on paper, at least, it's one of the better offenses, but I think any offense with 4 or 5 deep at running back and a quarterback like A-Rod is going to be one of the better offenses in the league, regardless of AFC, NFC, whatever. I mean, yeah, you can go add another receiver to it, but you got guys that A-Rod's familiar with, and let him figure it out from there.
Any concerns for you, Kenyon, on that wide receiving group at all? Do you think, or do you trust A-Rod like Justin's saying, and you just roll with it?
Let me tell you about all the faith I have in that man, Aaron Rodgers. I have all the faith in the world for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is such a good quarterback. He makes up for any, I guess you can say, lackluster of what you might have within your wide receiver core. But I like their wide receiver core. I think they have a very solid group right there. I think they could really go far. Just talk about deep into the playoffs and et cetera. Nothing but faith. Nothing but faith.
Hey, Aaron Rodgers has proved it. In and out for the most part. He's had, some questionable receiving cores in Green Bay when he was there. I mean, he's never had a first-round wide receiver, so Garrett Wilson's kind of like a blessing for him, I'm sure, in that sense. Krish, do you have any concerns behind? Because, I mean, if you really honestly think about it, the sophomore slump, that thing does exist in this world. And I mean, I think Garrett Wilson's sensational. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, is there a sophomore slump possibly on the horizon for Garrett that could make this struggle? Or do you have faith in Aaron Rodgers as well?
No, I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers. He's been doing this for years. And Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy, when he commits to something, he really wants it. He could have walked away from the game after last season. The fact that he came back shows he had something more to prove. Back-to-back MVPs. He's one of the top players in this game. And right now, you could make an argument that he's a top 2 quarterback in this game, now that Brady's gone. So I just feel like that offense is going to be so creative with Hackett there. Hackett's a great offensive-minded head coach. I know last year in Denver, it really didn't work out his way. but I really do feel like they have a really good defense. That team defense has been solid. So really all you need from the offense is to score points every drive, whether it's a 3 or a 6. You couldn't get by with 3 with that defense, and Aaron Rodgers will give you 6 every drive. So
maybe I'm a little more skeptical in the sense because I look at Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay, and when it comes to the big game side of things, it's never really panned out as well. I mean, one Super Bowl in the amount of years that he's put together over there, not all his fault. I don't put all the blame on him by any means. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great quarterback, but I will say that the wide receiving core, as far as the wide receiving core, for me, they're one injury away from really needing to scramble. That's the big thing. Like, I think Alan Lazard is a fine wide receiver, and he's got a great connection with Aaron Rodgers, who's been his quarterback for his entire career. But I don't know if he's a true wide receiver too, and I think we kind of saw that last year a little bit when he was in Green Bay. But the other thing I'm going to say is when I watched that Hall of Fame game, and they were interviewing Aaron Rodgers, it sounds like a different Aaron Rodgers than his last couple of years at Green Bay. He sounds a little rejuvenated. He sounds like he's really having a great time being there in New York. And I mean, it could be a coach. I mean, Justin and Kenyon, you guys are a little more on the upper side. Like, I didn't get a chance to play outside of high school like that, but I'm sure that you've made connections with coaches that have really helped you rejuvenate your love for the game. If you struggled at times, or had some moments where things weren't cutting your way, and then you reconnect with somebody and you're like, yeah, this is why I love this game. And that's almost what it sounds like with Aaron Rodgers. So it will definitely be interesting to see what happened with New York in this sense. So we'll do AFC East championship predictions, see if anybody takes the Jets in that a little bit later on the show. I want to jump real quick to an AFC East division foe, and Krish, we'll start with you because this is your team here. The New England Patriots signed Ezekiel Elliott to a 1-year, $6 million contract. It is a $3 million guaranteed, $2 million bonus, signing bonus, and or something like that, or $1 million signing bonus, and it could be $2 million worth of incentives. Krish, in the chat that we were in, or the other chat that we were in, it wasn't the chat with Justin and Kenyon, but you loved this signing, and is it something that you still love? Looking at it now, 24 hours later.
We missed out on DeAndre Hopkins. I was so excited. I was like, man, D Hop is coming. I wanted to be the first one to break the news on Twitter. I was trying to tweet D Hop signed with the Patriots before it even happened. So missing out on D Hop, that really hurt us, really. But our receiving room is okay. When you go to running backs, Ramondre Stevenson is a very, very capable running back in this league. I know Damien Harris, losing him hurts. It really does. And so us finding someone to replace him was really important. And Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, he still had juice left. He's still a solid running back. I know he hasn't been the same with injuries, but I really think Tony Pollard was foreshadowing his ability. Tony Pollard a little younger than Zeke. He might be in better shape. But if Zeke can stay in shape and healthy, a monster back there. But my only concern is the Patriots' offensive line is absolutely garbage. So that really, really concerns me. Zeke is going to be getting a lot of carries. I feel like Mac Jones is going to be a little gingerly, if you know what I mean, coming off his injury last year, getting back in the fold. So Zeke is a great weapon to have on offense. We got him for dirt cheap. I'm really happy. I mean, it's a win-win for both of us. If he happens to be really good, we got the win, and if he doesn't, then we didn't really lose that much money. So it was worth it.
I mean, that's fair. The offensive line is definitely a big question mark for them. Sam chimed in and asked if this is the Players Club. I mean, yeah, it's a high roller club over here. Kenyon, you made kind of a reaction there when we were talking about Zeke. Was that a good reaction, bad reaction there? What was up with that?
It's a good reaction. I love that Zeke found his way over there. I think he's going to do well over there, but I feel like they're going to try and put a fire up under these O-lines behind, for real, and try and get them to move that line, the line of scrimmage. They're for sure going to give Zeke the ball, probably about a good, maybe about like 15 plus, you know what I'm saying? And I know that might be a lot, but I think that he's going to get it done. I got faith in Zeke because, you know what I'm saying, Ohio State, That's my guy.
Well, time to make a show actually be a show, because I kind of disagree a little bit. So call me a Cowboy hater, whatever. I played college ball out in Fort Worth, so I was 12 minutes away from Zeke. I even met him on my Ohio State visit. But no, I mean, the Zeke that we're getting now, he's still a great running back. But I do think the tread on the tires is getting a little less. He's a little further down the road. Not saying he's a bad running back by any means. But I think the Ezekiel Elliott we're going to see now is a little bit different than the Zeke that we're accustomed to seeing in Dallas. I think Ramondre Stevenson takes the majority of those carries. I still think he's probably a 60-40 split between Zeke and Stevenson. So Stevenson gets 60% of carries, Zeke maybe around that 40 to 35. But my real question is, what Zeke's role on this team going to be? Is it going to be Ramondre Stevens pounding the rock down the field to get you to the 3-yard line and Zeke punches it in, and when you need the receiving back, you have Ty Montgomery? That's because, to me, Stevenson and Zeke at this stage in Zeke's career are going to be very, very similar of a running back, which doesn't really diversify the running back room the way that another guy that I know, Krish, you'd probably like to hear this one with Mac. I've worked with Mac multiple times. We both work with Tom. So it needs to have a diversifiable running back room. And if you're making yourself one-dimensional, you can start to get yourself in Viking territory, what I like to call, where you're so one-dimensional at times that you lose a playoff game that you shouldn't. And I'm not talking about the Giants' loss last year, but I'm talking about like just Vikings of even more the past, because I've liked the Vikings for almost my entire life. So you just don't want to be one-dimensional. I think it starts to make defenses figure you out, and then it's really going to force Mac Jones to try to beat you with his arm, which could be make or break for his career. And so I think giving Mac more pieces to play with is good. But I think the running backs are too very similar to make much of a difference. So I'm just kind of more skeptical to say to see what Zeke's true role is going to be with this team. Because if it's just going to be the third down back, or just to be a back to push one in the end zone from the 4-yard line or the 2-yard line, or a red zone running back, whatever, then you keep Stevenson, who's younger, less tread on the tires, and go from there and use Ty Montgomery as a piece to get him involved in the pass game or throw him out in the slot, things like that. So I'm a little more skeptical. I still think Zeke's a good signing, I guess you could say. But it's just more of a head scratcher compared to a Dalvin Cook.
Now, the show's going to become a show. I'm on Justin's side here, but I'm going to actually be a lot more harsher. I think overall, the 1 year $6 million isn't as big of a deal. I don't think that the contract size is that big of a deal. But what I do have here is it's not needed. This is a situation in time for the New England Patriots where they can't draft for shit. They can't. Like, as far as running backs are concerned and wide receivers, they struggle probably more than any other team in and they actually hit with Ramondre. So the fact that they hit with Ramondre, and at least it looks like they hit with Ramondre, bringing in a guy like Zeke is something that I think sends the wrong message, especially considering Zeke is so close to Ramondre and what he does. Ramondre has a little more of a passing game, but Zeke throughout his career has actually been pretty good at catching the ball. Mm-hmm. You have Ty Montgomery there who can't stay healthy. So, but what about Pierre Strong? What about Kevin Harris? These are two young guys that Pierre Strong was very, 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 very capable at South Dakota State, and is a very well-rounded back there. Now, is he on the level of a Zeke, or would he ever be on the level of Zeke? No. But you know what Pierre Strong is I think that he fits this system better. So I think you're sending the wrong message by bringing in Zeke. Yes, you probably want to bring in a running back to help with depth in case you're having injury issues like with Ty Montgomery. But I think Zeke is a little bit too high profile of a signing to bring in this situation. Now, I will say this about Mac Jones, and this is going to be a Patriots rant that's a little off topic here, but I want to bring it up since we're talking about it here. I want to say this about Mac Jones. I like Mac Jones. And I think Mac Jones is a very good quarterback inside of Bill Belichick's system. What I do not like is Bill Belichick playing with Russian roulette with his career last year. There was no reason Matt Patricia should have been the offensive coordinator for that team. I'm sorry. We saw how inept his offense was when he was the head coach in Detroit, and we know that he's more of a defensive-minded guy. Why you decided to play Russian roulette with him is beyond me. I'm happy they brought in Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien has a connection there. But this is now the third offensive coordinator in Mac Jones' 3-year career. That does not bode well. We saw it with Alex Smith. Until Alex Smith had any kind of stability, his career took off at that point. So bringing in Zeke may be a safety net of sorts, but, man, he had a career low in yards per carry last year, and I don't know if it's going to get any better. I mean, this may be a signing where they wasted $6 million where, like Krish said, they could have addressed the offensive line situation here in this sense. I know they drafted City Sal from Eastern Michigan, who I love. I don't know if anybody has any connections to City around here or not, but I love that dude. I think he's a great player, but I don't know, man. I'm a lot harsher on this signing because I just don't. I think it's possibly going to end up being a waste of money personally. But I mean, trust in Bill, right, Krish? That's the saying around New England. I'm from Maine. I live in Maine, so I mean, I'm surrounded by Patriots fans up here. It's in trust. It's in Bill we trust, right? Is that what you guys say down that way too?
We used to think that, but these past couple of years, this is my last year of believing it. So.
We got Bill Belichick on the hot seat. I've been hearing some grumblings about him possibly being on the hot seat over there. Guess the fans are buying into this as well. Now, preseason's just started. Week 1 just finished. Every year, we get some kind of preseason hype surrounding players. They break out, stuff like that. I remember Kason Williams a few years ago for the Seattle Seahawks, and then he failed to make 3 teams after that. But he had a great preseason. What is the targets here for separating the hype from fact, like on the guys that are legit? Because like I remember Arian Foster, I remember Alfred Morris with Washington kind of coming out of nowhere, and people were like, "Oh, he's for real," and it was like, "Oh, it's a preseason game," but they both went on to have pretty good careers across the board. So, do you guys have any kind of like when you're watching preseason games? Like Justin, you said you break down quarterbacks. Like, do you do the same thing with other players that are performing at a high level through the preseason to try to separate who's for real and who's not, at least at the NFL level?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. You can definitely do that. But I will say with preseason, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. And a lot of that's just going to be, okay, who's really calling plays? Like sometimes you'll see in the preseason, you'll see the starting quarterback calling plays like Patrick will do over in KC. He'll call a game or something. But no, I mean, you have to look at the type of player that's playing. So your veterans that are going out there, if they're moving around, they look like they got a little more spring in their step, and the way they just kind of move and flow. For veterans like that, that's really all you need to see because by week 1 they'll be good to go, and you maybe see them move around in the system, maybe see the system as itself from an offensive perspective. That's more things you take away. In terms of the quarterback specifically, though, like with Stetson Bennett, like when he got the elongated amount of time that he played, I'm not looking at did he score. I'm not looking at what the final score was, but I look at those individual plays that when stuff broke down and pressure's still on him, is he able to step up into the pocket and make throws and things like that. So from a quarterbacking perspective, when you get guys that are playing extended time, you can start to see, okay, what do you do when stuff breaks down? And because even in a preseason game, there's guys still fighting for jobs. And because you could still be sent home at the end of that game. So whenever you're kind of going up against or trying to make the 53, you're going to see some guys really show their true colors. And that's where you're going to see, especially with a lot of these rookies or 1 or 2 year vets that have to still really play preseason. That's where you can kind of separate the men from the boys a little bit. But you got to take every player with a grain of salt because everybody's got a different process, right? Like some guys might be, I just need 10 plays in preseason week 3, and I don't need to touch the field at all other than practice. But if I just get like 10 game reps on preseason week 3, I'm good to go for week 1. Or you might see other guys that say, hey, I need 1 quarter in the first game. I need 2 quarters in the second game. And then I know you're going to rest me in the third game, but can you still give me 10 snaps? So you just kind of have to understand the situation of each player, and then have kind of your best look of, all right, does this truly feel like he's going game speed? And like I said, with the quarterback perspective, how does he react to pressure? Is he able to identify things, get into right checks, get the ball to playmakers in space, and let it go from there?
Yeah, fun fact about Stetson Bennett. He was actually the starting quarterback of Matthew Stafford's junior year of high school. Kenyon, you're an offensive lineman. I was an offensive lineman. That's what I played, and I tend to watch the game from the inside out in comparison from the outside in, which a lot of skill players. No offense, Justin. Yeah, a lot of skilled players. Do they watch from the outside in? Do you tend to watch the preseason games the same way, even though it's more of like just kind of like some of the players that we may not see at the NFL level, throughout the course of the season?
Well, preseason is always important. One thing for sure, two things for second. Always important. That's where you see all your rookies, all your special cases, come and see what they really got. Like you said, hey, pressure builds diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I go from inside out. Everybody loves to watch a good touchdown. I want to see a good block. So I'm going to go from the center and just kind of bail out on each side, make sure I look at steps, look at little consistencies that you have as an offensive lineman that makes you better, that makes you make you have a higher skill set per se. Like on how this guy leans, how his stand is, how he might drop straight back in his kick step instead of going at an angle with his kick step. It's a bunch of different things that an offensive lineman that can really look at. And I use preseason all the time because I'll find something that's out of nowhere that I would have never thought I would have found, and I'll emulate it to my game.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, what position on the offensive line do you actually play? I never asked. I don't think.
I play everything.
You play everything, yeah.
Center, guard, tackle, all of it. Just
That's
put
fair.
me in the game, coach.
That's fair. Center was my primary position, but I started out at offensive tackle. But I was a pulling center. I was a little more athletic, so it doesn't look it now. But that's what happens when you get older and you let yourself go. But Krish, you have it. If it was up to you, I know that you would just flip flop the IFL and the NFL because all the IFL players are better than all NFL players, and they all belong indoors, right? Like that's how you watch the preseason games. Am I correct?
No. So I'll say this. I know Kenyon is not going to like this. This guy happens to be a former teammate of his, Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. Remember the preseason that he had? No offense to Damon. Not a lot of respect for him. But
shout out to Damon. My boy Sheehy.
He had a great preseason. But unfortunately, it was kind of – look, I think they should have kept him. But at that point, roster cuts have to be made. The NFL is a performance-based business. What really gets me is when I watch preseason and I see guys out there that don't deserve to be out there. So I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone I know, and I don't necessarily agree with this at all. But they said Malik Cunningham's performance at the end of the fourth quarter against the Patriots, it's so mistelling because the defensive guys that he was going against are not even as good as Pirates players. Take that as you will. I kind of had a little tough time believing it. But what I will say is I see quarterbacks out there, I'm not going to name any, but who.
Now you're going to be shy.
There's a lot of shots being sent in this message here.
Yeah.
Just a ton, just flurry.
There's a quarterback up there in New York. He's a third string right now. Look at his college stats. Does he deserve to be out there? No. You know, there's other quarterbacks around the league, like the backup quarterback in Tampa Bay, not Baker. You know, the other quarterback. He doesn't deserve to be out there. So there's guys that look at it like that, where it's like, why are they giving chance after chance? My end point of this is, you know, I think we need to get to a point where when the NFL expands, because they're talking about adding another game and only 2 preseason games, that's going to be monumental for the sport when that happens. And I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope that, you know, it doesn't happen like the CFL where they play way too many games. I hope it stays. I wasn't even a fan of them adding one more because I love the preseason. I love when, you know, I can watch all 4 games and really get an idea. 3 games is a good sample size for, you know, skill positions. Like, other than quarterback. I feel like you can't necessarily judge a quarterback from 3 games if they're a rookie. What really confuses me is in Indianapolis. Gardner Minshew went 6 for 6 with 72 yards. Anthony Richardson went 7 for 12 for 74 yards and an interception. Anthony Richardson was named the starter. So they're having an open competition. But even though Gardner Minshew outperformed Anthony Richardson, you know what I mean? That's my thing.
You need to separate coach speak from legitimacy. You don't draft a guy 4th overall to say Gardner Minshew is going to be your starter. No offense to Gardner because I call him Gardner because I absolutely love Gardner, but you don't draft a guy 4th overall to say Gardner is going to be the starting quarterback. You know, Krish, your hot take segment, I think we're going to have to call it like volcanic eruption. Because literally, like, you get on your hot take, and then, like, 3 or 4 others spiral out of it. So it's literally like meteor showers just coming down and lighting everything on fire. So I think we're going to have to call it, like, volcanic eruption or something. And maybe, you know, Sam will be nice enough to throw something together out there for that.
Yeah, you need to have some sound or something. Like pyrotechnics.
This is nothing, Kenyon.
Or a nice little hot meter on like the Schofield meter or whatever with the wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro,
us other 3 rank the takes.
Yeah. We gotta get you merch, Krish, with that. Like that's what we gotta get. Like a hot take, like Krish, like merch is what we gotta do. Something like that.
I will buy that shirt. I would totally buy that shirt.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like you know, it's all fun and games with him, like with the hot takes, but you know, I mean, some of those are off the Schofield meter. Like, you ever watch the Hot Ones? Shout out to the Hot Ones. I don't think they'll ever see the show, but if they do, you know, like they're hot as sauce, and then there's Krish. You know, I'm not going to say much here as far as I'm concerned because I watch from the inside out. You know, being an offensive lineman, I watch the offensive line first because, realistically speaking, like when you take a look at the spring ball, you know, the spring ball leagues, and you take a look at some of the other leagues, like with the ELF, and the 2 positions that struggle the most are the offensive line and secondary, like cornerbacks. You know, it's hard to find some elite level guys at that point. So those are the areas that I try to watch the most because. No offense to, you know, wide receivers, quarterbacks, or running backs, but like after a certain point or like near a certain point, their guys are so close that it's literally just a matter of just like 1 or 2 things that could do it. Yeah, sure, Krish, like you said, there's some guys that are playing in the league that may not be better than some of the guys that are out there in the USFL or the XFL or even the CFL or even free agents. But you know, it's just the way that the nature of the game. It just might be one little thing. And sometimes that's the way that breaks down. So it's just a matter of just, you know, like Justin said, take it with a grain of salt and hope for the best as far as that's concerned. And our last topic, real quick, we're just going to go through, and I just want to get divisions. We're going to do all the divisions. I just want to get a prediction of your winners of the division and maybe like, you know, if you think there's going to be a second wild card team or 2 wild cards even from that division. Krish, we'll start with you with the AFC East. You're the only guy here with the AFC East fanship because I'm a Washington fan, even though I live in Maine. So we'll start. Actually, you know what, Kenyon? I didn't even ask. How does that work? Okay, so how it works is I'm actually originally from Northern Virginia. So I'm Washington through and through minus baseball. But I'm Washington through and through for like all sports. So that was only because the Nationals weren't. I'm telling my age here, but the Nationals weren't a team when I was growing up. They were the Expos at the time. So I'm the old man of the group here. So that's just the way that works with that whole situation. But so I'm actually a Yankees fan because I grew up hating the Orioles. I didn't actually grow up hating the Red Sox as a Yankees fan. I grew up hating the Orioles. So I actually am one of those rare guys that's like Yankees, Red Sox. Okay, yeah, who cares? Like I don't give me the Orioles though all day. I'll smash an Oriole, not an actual bird in the face. That's just animal cruelty, but you know what I mean. Krish, we'll start with
It's
you.
so violent.
Oh, so violent. Yeah, well, I mean, football's a violent game. Krish, AFC East, man, who's your winners? Who your winner? Do you have a second playoff team coming out of that division?
New York Jets are winning the AFC East.
Oh, okay.
Second place will be the Buffalo Bills. Third place will be my Patriots. And fourth will be the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
It's going to be close. It's going to be competitive. I just think the Jets, Rodgers came here to win year one. So I think they're going to win the division. Buffalo being at 2 makes sense. I think that Sean McDermott, you could say, could we make the argument that he's on the hot seat? I feel like no.
What, McDermott?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, he's lost so many years in a row and blowing leads.
I mean, have you seen the AFC?
I know. I mean, it's kind of window. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's still been one of the Final Four teams every year. I mean, Marv Levy lost 4 straight Super Bowls and didn't get fired, so
But
Bills fans knife right to it.
I mean, the Dolphins and the Patriots are really close. It could really go either way. But I have the Jets winning and I have the Bills being the wild card. So.
All right. Kenyon, how about you? You gonna ride that Aaron Rodgers train to the top of the AFC East? You with us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you gonna ride that Aaron Rodgers train to the top of the AFC East?
See, I'm a logical guy, so.
Oh, I don't know. I think your sound cut out there. Justin, we'll go to you for a second.
Hear me?
Oh, we got you right there. There you go. I think we got you now.
Technical difficulties.
Hey, first show, right?
Yep.
It's gonna happen sometimes, right? Kenyon, I think we lost you, buddy. I think we lost your audio. Yeah, Justin, how about you? What's your AFC East look like there? And we'll go back to Kenyon once he gets the audio figured out there.
Yeah, so I don't think it's time to hop off the Bills Mafia train just yet. I've got the Bills winning the division, and then my only other team coming out of that division into the playoffs is the Jets. I think the Jets are going to have a little bit of a rocky road to start. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a different breed, and A-Rod seems rejuvenated, but I still think it's going to be a little rocky to start like anything new. So I got Bills and Jets coming out there. Bills winning the division, Jets 10-7, making what do I have? 7 seed? Yeah, so 7 seed here.
7 seed.
And I think Miami's gonna be toast.
Yeah.
I'm not high on them. I think they're a team that looks too good on paper and will not live up to the hype when the season starts.
All right, Kenyon, I think we got your audio figured out. What about your AFC East for you, my man? What's going on over there?
See, I like how my friend over here thinks. Never give up on the Buffalo Bills. Never, ever give up on the Buffalo Bills, because every time I think about giving up on them, they'll shock me. So
yeah,
I'll give it to them all day and put the Jets right up under there. Who else was it? It was
the Pats and the Miami Dolphins were also in that division.
It has to be the Pats after that, and we got to give Miami that low tier spot. I mean, they haven't shown me anything otherwise. I mean, they need to protect their quarterback. He was getting holy hands laid on him last year. So I'm not trying to be the, you know what I'm saying, but he needs help.
Well, I mean, and seeing some videos from practice and in preseason here, it doesn't look like that offensive line proved all that much either, unfortunately, for Tua, who's, one hit away from being scrambled eggs, unfortunately. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to make light of the situation, but that was scary last year with him involved. I'm glad that he's okay and still playing, but, that whole situation was scary. So for that, I think Miami is going to be probably going to be missing the playoffs here. I got the Buffalo Bills winning it, but I will say one thing: Brian Daboll, the development of Josh Allen's career under Daboll cannot be mistaken here by any means, because Allen returned to turnover form last year with Buffalo. So there is an opening for New York if Josh Allen cannot get back to the Brian Daboll days of cleaning up those mistakes, because Buffalo could end up being in tough shape if Josh Allen struggles at all. But other than that, I think Josh Allen's an elite talent. I was a fan of his in Wyoming, so I'm going to roll with Buffalo here in the AFC East. And I think the Jets, like Justin, I think they may sneak in as a 7 seed, but it may be a lot tougher because that conference is extremely difficult. So across the board with that. So we will jump over to the AFC North. Kenyon, you said you're from Ohio. You said
Ohio,
you're from yeah. So are you a Bengals fan, or you're a Brownie? Okay, you're a Browns fan. Okay.
I have a lot of respect for the Bengals over there.
Are you so the AFC North? Are you taking that respect and giving it to them again this year? Or?
I mean,
I hate it. He says.
Yeah, it's a lot of hate in that one, but I don't want to give it to him because Joe Burrow just got hurt the other day. And it's like when your star quarterback goes down on something silly like a camp injury like that, it's never a good thing. So, and it always makes it a whole lot harder. So I can't give it to him this time. I think the Browns are going to do way better this year. Way better. I am so excited to see the Browns. It made my heart skip a beat to watch them play their preseason. I thought they did really well.
So is the Browns going to be your AFC North champions?
Yeah, for sure. I'm stamping.
I'm stamping it. Reminds me of one of my favorite.
We gotta shake it up. I'm stamping it.
Reminds me of one of my favorite football films, Draft Day. With all the talk there, Justin. What about you, AFC North, my man? On paper, it looks like it's a pretty loaded division. So
yeah, it's a very loaded division, and I think my 4th place team in this division ruins a streak for Tomlin, and it's not because I don't think the Steelers will be bad. I mean, I have the Bengals still winning the division and the new look Ravens sneaking in. They ended up the 6th seed, even though they tie 10-7 with the Jets just by tiebreakers with the website that I used. But no, I mean, I think the Browns will surprise a lot of people, but I still have them 1 game under 500 and barely missing out. I mean, it's that division I think is one of the toughest in football right now, and you've got to win games in that division. And yeah, even though the Bengals may start off a little slow if Burrow does miss time, or even if Burrow plays, it takes a week or 2 for him to kind of truly get healthy. I've learned not to doubt Joe Burrow. So whether he's hurt or not, I think he's still going to play very well. And I'm taking a little bit of stock into this new look Ravens offense. And maybe it's just because I'm a Georgia homer and we got Todd over there running the ship over there. But
hey, I love Todd.
Yeah, so I got Bengals Ravens coming out of that division.
Krish, what about you? What's the North look like for you? I mean, we'll get to me in a minute, but yeah, Krish, what's you in the North here? Like,
Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, that was my childhood. Watching him come back, I'm really excited to see him back there. But my number 1 team in this division is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett and George Pickens are unbelievable. I love Kenny Pickett. I think he's gonna have a great second year. I think he might be the most improved player in the NFL. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, or if not Justin Fields, but Kenny Pickett's gonna look really good. He's gonna surprise a lot of people, and he might even be a Pro Bowler. I would not be surprised. So with that said, I love the defense. I love their offense. I think the Steelers are going to be number 1. Joe Burrow, I don't know when he's going to come back or if he's going to be at full health. He'll come back week 1. So my number 2 team in this division will have to be I was going to call him a name, but I have to keep this PG. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. So I got the
Krish, you're not going to get me to take Baltimore to do a clean sweep here with the Browns and the Bengals and the Steelers. I'm on the Joe Burrow train. He's already running at practice again, light workout stuff like that. It was just a strain of sorts and whatnot. But it is one of those things where the North, I think the North is kind of like the cornerstone of just how good this AFC is. Like, you really take a look at it, like, Justin, you already got 4 teams in the playoffs based upon what you've done, and you still haven't even talked about the West yet. I mean, the South is by far probably the worst in this division. We'll get to that here in a second. So, for me, it's the Bengals. I want to say the Ravens sneak in, or even the Brownies sneak in. But I don't know, man. We're talking, if you take 2 from the East, it is going to be hard to take 2 from the North as well, especially with the West looking the way that they're looking. But we'll jump to that in a second. Let's go to the AFC South. Justin, I'm sure you probably got one coming out of here, but what's your little bit of the South over here in the South?
Yeah, so if I'm going the homer pick, I'm definitely saying Ryan Tannehill gets benched. Will Levis sucks, and my boy Malik Willis plays for Tennessee and takes him to a Super Bowl. But I'm not going to go. Not going to go homer pick. Love you, Malik. But no, Jacksonville's too good in that division. And funny enough, they're the only team in the AFC in these predictions that I went through that actually clean sweep their division 6-0. So I've got Jags at 11-6 coming out of the division.
Yeah, no doubt. Kenyon, the same thing. You on the Jags train? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, man. How can
Trevor Lawrence is a problem. He is a problem. He is a man amongst boys. So I don't have anything else to really say. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Fair, Krish. You on Jacksonville as well? I mean, this team looked. I mean, they looked legit last year for a surprise for a lot of people.
They do look legit, but I kind of have to go with what my head is telling me.
Oh boy,
the Rico Ryans and the Houston Texans have been in this division.
Well, who you got starting at quarterback?
Yeah,
man. Davis is gonna start it off, but I got a lot of faith in Davis Mills.
Well, I think it's CJ Stroud who's going to start. I don't think you draft a guy at number 2 to say, "Hey, Davis Mills, you're going to be the starter." It's just no offense to Davis by any means, but you just don't do that. Jacksonville, to me, man. I mean, you add Calvin Ridley to that bunch. They have a young receiver in Parker Washington that came out of Penn State this year. It's a rookie who could easily slot in at any point in time in that secondary slot role. Tank Bigsby is starting to look like he might be him and Travis Etienne are going to be a deadly 1-2 punch once they settle in over there a little bit. It's just going to be that defense. It's going to be just how much is that defense going to be able to take that next step. But they got a lot of talent on that defense, though. I mean, Trayvon Walker, man, that's my boy. I was so happy they took him number 1, man. I was so happy they took him number 1. So I got Jacksonville coming out of there. Kenyon, the West is loaded with, talent, or at least it looks like that coming out. Like, is it going to be two teams out of here instead of somewhere else, or what's your thoughts here with the West?
You hit me with a humdinger because I don't focus on the West like that. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm an honest man. I'm gonna be honest. Name off the teams for me. You
got Kansas City, obviously. You got Patrick Mahomes, yep. Kansas City out there. The Raiders, the Chargers, and the Broncos.
Kansas City will always be a force to be reckoned with.
As long as
they're a juggernaut waiting to get slayed down. But I think the Broncos are going to have a great year this year. I think they have something under the tank that they're ready to let fly. If I would have any 2 out of there, I would say them 2. But the Raiders, they're wishy-washy. They're too wishy-washy for me. I can't really get behind it. I'm sorry to all the Raider fans out there, but I just can't do it. And I feel like that's hard for me to say because I'm a Browns fan. But hey, the line has to be drawn somewhere.
Right?
Yeah. So All right, who else am I missing?
Nope, you got all
That's
four
all.
of them. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
not-
all right, cool.
yeah, you hit all four of them there. Krish, what about you? You on the Sean Payton Denver Bronco train? I'm sure Sam would love to hear you be on that train for once.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with my boy LeCedric Green from Shady Sports Network. You know, I know he's a huge Broncos fan. I think Russell Wilson is going to have a bounce back year. I really feel like this is a make or break year for Russ. He knows it. And so, you know, he's going to go out and do what Russell Wilson needs to do. The receiving core is pretty good. You know, I think Jerry Jeudy, I'm really high on Jerry Jeudy. You know, he's one of my favorite receivers in the league. I actually took him in the first round of my fantasy draft last year. I kind of, you know, paid for that a little bit. But
You think?
I got back-to-back picks. So, you know, I had to take Jeudy. But no, my plan is to take him again this year, you know. So,
Oh, of course it is.
So Chiefs, obviously Chiefs number
At
one.
least he has loyalty.
I
Yeah,
cannot.
right.
Yeah. I cannot believe Isaac Pacheco is only in his second year in the NFL. I cannot wait to see what that kid is about to do. So, Chiefs number one, and then number two, I got the Denver Broncos, and 3 Chargers.
All right, Justin, how about you, man?
Well, you've already heard my picks for 2 get out of 2 different divisions, which only leaves 2 to get out of this one. I think this is another division that I think all 4 of these teams are actually pretty good. I'm buying more into the Raiders stock than what a lot of people seem. Just because, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo truly is a stable quarterback that if he's healthy will get the job done. But with that being said, this is where I get kicked off the show for the rest of the time because Denver does not make the playoffs. Sorry, Sam. I mean, I've got 14-3, number 1 seed, Kansas City. You can't doubt Patrick Mahomes. The Chargers, 10-7, they get into. And then you still have 7-10 for the Raiders and the Broncos. I mean, I think both of those teams are going to be better than what we think. I mean, I think Russell Wilson's looking in a lot better shape. Sean Payton's offense will help. I don't necessarily like what I'm hearing out of Denver with kind of the Sean Payton kind of mentality that's kind of being brought there with team rules and how some of the players are responding to it, which maybe tells me that they get off maybe to a slower start instead of a hot, fast start like you would hope with a Sean Payton offense and trying to get people to buy into that program. So no, you can't go against Kansas City. And I think Justin Herbert and the Chargers have a little fire under them from last year's playoff loss. And I think they're going to surprise a lot of people by being a pretty high powered offense. And I mean, but hey, you got seeds 5, 6, and 7, all at 10-7. So that still shows you how tough this AFC completely is. I mean, you've got 8 and 9 teams and some other teams in there that are still going to be pretty good that miss out on the postseason. So hard conference.
If Brandon Staley has learned from his past mistakes, the Chargers are a dark horse candidate to win the Super Bowl this year. Justin Herbert's the real deal. Hey, maybe it's a Mike hot take. I don't know, but Justin Herbert's the real deal. Austin Eckler's got a fire under his ass with the running back situation going on. I'm not a huge fan of Mike Williams, but that Quentin Johnston kid is going to be legit at the next level. Keenan Allen is still a very reliable, very, very good quarterback, good wide receiver who has got a great connection with his quarterback and Herbert. I think the Chiefs still going to win the division because you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid specifically. But losing Eric Bieniemy is going to be big. I mean, I know that they got Matt Nagy back over there as the offensive coordinator who's been there before. But losing Eric Bieniemy is a big loss. But when you have Patrick Mahomes, man, I mean. I'm gonna eat crow real quick, and I'm gonna eat a slice of humble pie. So when Patrick Mahomes was coming into the league, I thought he was going to be a failure. I did not like his footwork. I did not like his pocket presence. I thought he relied too much on his arm, and I am humbly eating pie every year that I see this guy play because I'm a huge fan now. And
next time I see Pat, I'll tell him that.
Hey, no, by all means, you let him know, man. I will straight up eat crow in front of him if he makes it for me. I'll probably put some ketchup on it for him too, and I don't even like ketchup like that. So, but But yeah, no, for real, Justin, I did. I thought so, man. I thought I missed completely on that one. Like way off on that.
No, I mean, one comment
Completely
before we go over to the NFC about the Chiefs. I think since the fact that Nagy was there last year, losing Bieniemy is a pretty huge loss because I think he deserves a head coaching job and should have already had a head coaching job. Just putting that out there. But losing Bieniemy's big, but the fact that Nagy's already been in the system, he's already had a year working with Pat. I think there's not going to be as big of a drop-off. Culture is going to stay the same. It's still Andy Reid. Andy Reid still runs the ship the way Andy Reid runs it, lets his players create all these amazing trick plays and all that other kind of stuff. So Chiefs are going to be fine.
Well, I mean, he was with Kansas City before he went to Chicago, and I don't think what happened in Chicago was really his fault either. I think it was just a mixture of bad front office, or I don't want to say necessarily even bad front office. I just think it was just not good front office. And Nagy was just the scapegoat that happened there. So we'll go over to the NFC East. My NFC East, because the Washington fan, I'm looking for Sam Howell here, but I think this division is one of the more unpredictable divisions, especially in the NFC across the board. I think a lot of people think the Eagles, in a sense, is anybody not on the Eagles here to win this division? Let's put it that way. Maybe shave a little time.
Nope. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Fly, Eagles. Fly. Krish, you on the Eagles side too?
I'm still on the Eagles.
Eagles as well?
No, I got the Dallas Cowboys winning this division this year.
Okay. All right. We don't need it. Yeah, we don't need anything else from Krish after that. Anytime the Dallas is said, you might as well just no. Why do you think Dallas is going to win the division?
I'm really liking the system they got running down there. I know everyone says the Cowboys are just like the University of Texas, right? Every year it's supposed to be their year, but really, I really do feel Dak Prescott is going to have a bounce back year. I love Dak. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. He gets hated on for no reason. Okay, maybe he has a little bit of
I can think of one or two reasons.
I've got a pretty big reason.
Yeah.
But now I will say, like, I do think Justin is better than Cooper Rush. So that's how I feel about Cooper Rush. I don't think they have a
Cooper's
good.
Not that bad.
I don't know, man. He's really overrated. He's a system quarterback, and if he was in any other system, he would, But
so was Tom Brady, but nobody calls him overrated.
All right, well, no.
It's just a tough world out here.
But Dak Prescott's gonna have a great year. CeeDee Lamb is gonna be first team All NFL. So I got the Cowboys winning.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm on the Eagles train. I mean, I love my Washington, Commanders and whatnot, but I think Sam Howell is still, a little ways away from making any type of noise in that situation. But I love Eric Bieniemy down there. They got a young team. Yeah, hopefully they can put it together and at least be competitive, and that's basically all I can ask for at this point. So I got the Eagles, and I don't think there's another team that's going to make the playoffs out of this division. I don't know. The NFC's awful, so maybe Dallas will get in.
They just slide in there, just sneak in.
Yeah.
I've got Eagles and Dallas out of it, and it feels weird keeping the Giants out of it, but the Giants barely miss out on mine.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. All right. How about you, Kenyon? You got the Eagles, I know that, but do you have anybody else coming out in that one, or?
I want to have faith in the Giants. And I know that probably sounds funny, but I want to have faith in them. But who else is there?
It's Washington, the Giants, Eagles,
Washington.
and Dallas.
I don't like Washington. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Hey,
I don't know what it is. I just got a bad taste from Washington. They don't finish how I feel like they really should.
And Dan Snyder's gone. I'm ecstatic. I could care less what the season.
Yeah, that's going. It's about to turn around though. I have nothing but up looks for them.
My Super Bowl already happened as soon as Dan Snyder sold. So
I'm saying this year's a transition year for him. I think next year's going to be good for Washington. Just not this year.
And that's fair. I mean, Sam Howell, he looked good against Dallas at the end of the year last year, but they are young, especially on offense, and they have a tendency to struggle with young offenses, and they got a really stout defense though. So that's the way it is. How about the NFC North? We'll stick right here with Justin on that one.
Well, do I go Homer or do I actually be real? No, the Vikings. Vikings get out of here. I do think it's not going to be a 13-4 season like last year. I think it's going to be a little tougher sledding. I still have them at 11-6. But Kirk Cousins is a top 10, still maybe even performing like a top 5 quarterback in the league statistically. Kevin O'Connell is a great offensive mind. They work very, very well together. I am concerned about losing Dalvin Cook and having Alexander Mattison be the guy that totes all the carries in Minnesota. But I do think the wide receiver core that you've built up is pretty good, and I think the offense is still going to continue to fire on all cylinders. Defense needs to improve a little bit, but they've made some strides there, at least what it looks like in preseason. So I've got Minnesota as my only team out of the North.
That's I think that's a little bit of Minnesota Vikings hatership right there on the rest of the division.
I like Detroit. Chicago, I know Fields personally, but I've never been a big Fields guy. I don't think he could prove me wrong, and I'll eat my words, but I don't think he's Jalen. I don't think he's going to have a season like Jalen, and I think it's too far gone for Chicago. And then Green Bay, I don't trust Jordan Love yet. This year's probably the year that Jordan Love takes his lumps, they lose games, and then next year of the second year of that contract extension is where he actually has to prove if he's the guy or not.
If Fields makes you do that, we can eat humble pie together. Kenyon, how about you, NFC North here, man? Like, what's your thoughts here?
It has to be the Vikings. It has to be. Like, I have no other doubt in my mind that they're gonna be the ones to make it out. I don't have any faith in the Bears.
Shocker. Browns fan doesn't have faith in Bears. Breaking news.
Some things are just the way it is. Who else is in Green Bay? Green Bay is always just. They'll probably have like a good. They have spurts. They have too many spurts. They're not like as consistent as I would like them to be. Like, and then with all the trades and all the crazy stuff that happens over there, they need to all home it together. You know what I'm saying? Who else am I missing?
Detroit.
Detroit. I don't have to,
they're a lot better of a team.
They are. I'm not gonna say anything bad about Detroit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna be the guy to sit up here and be like, they suck. No, Detroit is a very good team. Detroit is a very good team, but I don't think Detroit is gonna pull it off this year. I truthfully don't.
All right, Krish, how about you? Hot take city here. Let me guess. The Houston Texans win this division.
No. I got Minnesota. I do have a question for Justin though. You said that Justin Fields personally. Do you think it's more of an attitude thing that will hold him back from really being a top quarterback in the NFL?
I don't necessarily think it will be an attitude thing that he succeeds in the NFL. I think that he won't develop as a passer because his brain is brain fart there. His brain is wired to trust his athleticism a little too much, to where his arm is, although it's good in terms of strong arm, he's not very accurate, and footwork isn't the greatest. But then again, if all you can do is dump off to DJ Moore, negative 6-yard pass, and it goes for 95 yards or 86 or whatever it went, hey, if that's how you score points, great. I just don't trust that Justin Fields will develop enough as a passer. His attitude off the field's one thing, but I don't think that's going to stop him from being a successful quarterback in the NFL.
For sure, yeah. And I only asked that because he said I'm going to pass for over 4,000 yards, and I'm doing this year.
I mean, but I'll say you got to have that kind of confidence in yourself.
Yeah,
I mean,
you gotta love the energy.
If you don't believe in yourself, why are the other 9 or 10 dudes in that huddle going to believe in you? I mean, if you show up in that huddle and you're Ace Wright twins, what did coach say? 67-40. Like if you go in and start acting like that, guys aren't going to believe you, and it's not going to go well anyway. So
whatever that character was that Justin was just playing, Kenyon's already sold on being out on that one. He checked out.
Hey, when you start hearing that stuttering, oh God, that's how you know it's a wrap.
Yeah,
no doubt. For me, I got Detroit winning this division.
Okay.
I think they got pieces around them. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is. I think he's disrespected as far as a receiver is concerned. He didn't even crack the top 15 wide receivers in a lot of lists this year. He was like 18th on the NFL.com list, and I think that's just a kind of a slap in the face to what Amon-Ra does. They did take a hit with Jamison Williams and being suspended and whatnot, but I like the Jahmyr Gibbs, pickup. I think he's a dynamic player. David Montgomery is a great counterbalance. Jared Goff is a much better quarterback than I think people realize, and the offensive coordinator over there was voted by his colleagues and peers as the best offensive coordinator in football. So, and Dan Campbell, man, I mean, he's a guy I would have loved to have played for, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think Detroit is going to win this division. I think Minnesota's still talented, but I think that drop off from Dalvin Cook to Alexander Mattison is going to be too much with the way that Kevin O'Connell runs his offense, because Alexander Mattison, and I don't think a lot of people know this, was actually ranked in the bottom 3 in efficiency as a runner last year, with a minimum of, I think it was like 150 carries or whatever it was. So that much of a drop off from a guy from like Dalvin Cook to Alexander Mattison being the primary guy. And then you have, Ty Chandler and Kidney Wang Wu, who's a freakish athlete, but you don't really know what you have in him, those guys behind him. Justin Jefferson, obviously the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion, and TJ Hawkinson, great trade, for you guys, for the Vikings last year. But I don't know if Jordan Addison's ready to step in that role right off the bat. I don't know if he's a Justin Jefferson type caliber player or a Jamar Chase type caliber player to come in as a rookie and be that guy. And, Cousins lost his safety net now on Thielen.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a transition phase, and to be honest with you, I don't know if Cooks if Cousins maybe has something in the back of his head about being a lame duck quarterback. I don't know if it's going to mess with him. He generally has a good head on his shoulders, but there's no contract extensions right now. There's not even talks about it. He's entering the last year again. Great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Can't win in prime time. Can't win in big games. I watched him in Washington fail miserably, but I don't hate him like other Washington team players do, or fans do. So I think Minnesota makes the playoffs, but I think they're going to be a wild card this year, and I think that I do think it's going to be close. Like the win totals aren't going to be as high as it was for Minnesota was last year. So
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised when I went through here and rated out teams. I had the Lions 8 and 9. I just think their schedules outside of division is pretty tough. I mean, I still have them 4 and 2 in the division. So I don't know how that didn't get them sneaking into the wild card, because I have 2 other 9 and 8, 8 and 9 teams sneaking in another division. But no, I like the Lions and what they're doing too. So I would not be surprised if they go and win this division. But I do the Addison addition. He doesn't have to be Justin Jefferson. He can be the shifty guy that he is. And he's already kind of showing that in preseason. Now, that one catch that apparently wasn't a catch.
I love Jordan Addison. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I love Jordan. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know.
It's a receiver that I'd love to have.
Yeah, for sure. But losing Thielen as your safety net. I think,
no.
And I like KJ Osborne. I think KJ Osborne's a great 3. I don't know if he's a true 2 or not, but if Addison can step into that role and be a true 2, then I think it's okay. But Thielen was just such a safety net for Cousins, and Hawkinson kind of stepped into that role, so maybe Hawkinson's that guy now. So,
and that's what I was going to say too. You look at the trade deadline acquisition of Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen's production went massively down because Hawkinson became that. So
Right.
I think you kind of replace Hawkinson and give a tight end in front of Kirk Cousins' vision for him to kind of play with. And I think that replaces itself there. KJ can still be KJ, and
Yeah.
Addison, you can get in and move him around and do stuff with him. So
I am less worried about the offense than I am that defense.
Oh,
like for
I'm
sure.
always
like
worried about the defense.
That defense was that defense was definitely a nightmare last year. All right, NFC South, probably the worst division in football overall. Period, flat out across the board. A lot of transitional teams here: Carolina, Atlanta. Two other teams that I can't even think of off the top of my head for some reason.
New Orleans, Tampa.
New Orleans, Tampa Bay. It looks like the Saints are probably the only team that's not really in transition, but even then, they're still in transition, which is so odd to say. The Saints look like they're the premier team. Is everybody on the Saints here, or does somebody have a surprise? Krish may say Bryce Young is going to throw for 95,000 yards and 36,000 touchdowns, but I think the Saints are the clear-cut favorite in this division. I don't know about anybody else.
See, I'm a little different.
Atlanta?
But it's not solely based on New Orleans Saints hate or anything, because remember, I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Falcons fan as well. So, but when I look at this division, I look at the division of mid.
Very mid.
Bryce Young, I think, will surprise a lot of people. I think he is legit and will play well when given opportunities, but I do think there will be lumps. Don't see how they go out and make the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. New Orleans, I flip with the team who I do have at number one at this stage for number one in the division. Tampa, Baker is mid. I like Baker. I think he performed better in Cleveland, especially that last year that he was in Cleveland than people give him credit for. He played hurt half the year. I think Baker does deserve some credit, but again, team's still mid. They're older, transitioning out of the Brady era. I think just massive lump in the season for them. But I do think what I'm hearing out of Atlanta camp and things like that, I think this team, although I have them at 9-8, I think they could surprise a lot of people in this division and actually be the one team out of this division that makes the playoffs. I love Derek Carr. The Saints, I think, are on paper the best team in this division. But I still think there is a new quarterback, new location tax that you have to kind of put on this. And Derek Carr looks massive. He looks in shape. And I do think he will play well. But at the end of the day, he wasn't completely doing it full time with the Raiders either. So what do you think do you think it's truly going to change in New Orleans? So I've got Atlanta getting out of this division by one game. I think everybody in this division beats up on each other, and Atlanta surprises people.
Interesting. I'll get to my thoughts there. Kenyon, are you on the Saints? Or you think Atlanta is going to surprise, or maybe even Tampa Bay with Baker?
I still have a lot of faith in Baker. That's what I was about to ask. Is it wrong to feel that Tampa Bay is going to make this one out? It's going to be ugly though, for sure, for sure. But I feel like they got it in them.
To be honest with you, I could have jumped
coming for vengeance.
Yeah,
he's ready to play. I feel like he wants to get this one done.
Oh, for sure. I could have jumped the gun with the Saints talk for sure. There's no doubt about it. That like everybody says, I think we all agree that this division is one of the worst in football, if not the worst out of the 8. You could probably compare it to the AFC South in comparison. Krish, do you have Houston winning this division too?
A lot of Houston shots going on today.
Oh, I have to though. Krish kind of it surprised me with the Houston pick. I'm not gonna lie, you surprised me with it.
You can't sleep on my boy Tank Dell. You can't sleep.
Tank Dell's the man. Don't get me wrong.
But so this division, I love Derek Carr. He's one. I really love Derek Carr. After the whole Henry Ruggs thing, how he reacted, and he's a team guy. He's a family guy. He's a faith guy. He's a great guy all around. And, we all have to respect Derek Carr. With him and Michael Thomas, now Michael Thomas is like a piece of glass. Let's not get that wrong. Okay? He's very fragile. I think that, honestly, it's crazy how fragile Michael Thomas is. It's because part of it is entitlement. I feel like it's a little entitlement. He's getting paid so much money. I look at a receiver, and Kenyon knows this receiver very well. Jalen Childers from the West Texas Warbirds, right?
Shout out Jalen.
That guy played every other game hurt, but he still showed up. He still went out and performed. The point is that I feel like Michael Thomas needs to realize if he really wants to be in the NFL, he's just in it for the money. This is his year to prove, like, I'm back. I'm fine. I can make it through the whole season. I like Derek Carr, and I think he's gonna have a great season. I think I don't want to sound too crazy, but he's in my top 5 short list of MVP candidates. But at the same time, if he gets hurt, if he goes down, Jameis Winston is a very capable NFL quarterback. So, we'll see what we get, but it's going to be a great year. Alvin Kamara only getting 3 games is an absolute blessing for that team. If he was any other regular person, you don't even know what would happen to him. But I'm really thankful that Alvin Kamara is back because I love him, and he's going to be a 3rd-round running back pick for me. So,
3rd round? He may not even make it to the 3rd round, to be honest with you. Jamal Williams, you guys need to follow on social media if you don't. The dude is freaking great. I don't know if you follow him or not. He is so fantastic at everything he does. It's great. Just a shameless shout out to Jamal. He's a dude I could hang out with all day and not have a problem with, ever. I could have jumped the guns with the Saints. My issue with the Falcons is Desmond Ridder. How much is Desmond Ridder? How much of his development is going to hit here at this point in stage? I'm not really a big fan of the receiving core there. I'm not a big Drake London guy. I wasn't a Drake London guy coming out. Great size. He has athleticism, but he fell into a category of contested passes in college. Not all his fault, but he fell into a category with it, and it's the same category as guys like Laquan Treadwell. And you could just insert bust receiver here, and I hate using the word bust because it's used. So, but insert bust receiver here in that top 10 of contested catches. It doesn't mean that he can't be the unicorn of the bunch, because it's definitely possible he could be the unicorn of the bunch. So, but Bijan Robinson is a sensational athlete and player, and if they use him and Tyler Algier together, I think that Atlanta could definitely surprise people. I just don't know if that leap is there. And Baker in Tampa Bay, I don't blame him what happened in Cleveland, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't blame what happened to him in Cleveland by any means, because like you said, he played with both shoulders hurt. He played with the left one hurt from week 2, and he hurt the right one in week 11 that year. And he was a defensive stop away, not something that he could control, but he was a defensive stop away from beating Kansas City in Kansas City the year before in the playoffs. So I don't blame Baker Mayfield for what happened in Cleveland by any sense. I think that he was used as a scapegoat, very similarly to what we've seen with some coaches like Matt Nagy in Chicago. So and he had a very good year with the Rams last year. He put up some good numbers over there once he got settled in. So I think Baker is fine. I think it's a great fit in Tampa Bay, because that he's got a staff that's going to work with him down there. So Tampa Bay could surprise some people. I just think that New Orleans, on paper, from top to bottom, has a more veteran team that, even though they're in transition, they still have a lot of their key pieces that produce for them in place. And getting Derek Carr, who I think is a very underrated quarterback personally myself. And again, I don't blame necessarily everything that happened with the Raiders with him. Yeah. I think that was just a turmoil, situation with the coaching staff and other stuff over there. But he kind of settled in, and John Gruden's system is very hard. It's a very safety net style of play. It's very old school. Don't turn the ball over, don't make mistakes, but your numbers are not going to be flashy. You're going to look like Brad Johnson out there. But, Brad Johnson's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So, that's just the way it is, for a Gruden offense. So I got the Saints winning this one. I think they're the best team on the offense, but I think there is room for some teams to improve there.
Oh, yeah.
And
just like you said, Michael, you look at I mean, I think there's three. I wouldn't be surprised if three of these teams win the division. Like if Carolina wins the division, okay, yeah, I'm surprised, but I would not be surprised if any of these other three win it.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Keno.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. Yeah, absolutely, and that's 100%. We'll wrap up here with the NFC West. Now, this is the San Francisco, Seattle, Arizona, and why am I drawing a blank on the last one again?
49ers, Seahawks, Rams.
Rams, that's right. I just mentioned the Rams earlier in the show, too.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with me? Kenyon, actually, you know what, Krish, you just came back on camera. What about you? We'll start with you. What's the NFC West look like for you? Who do you got here out of that West?
Geno Smith. I like Geno Smith. I've been a fan since last year.
Since last year. Long tenured fandomship.
Don't worry about the Jets pick.
Yeah.
Last year.
Since last year. But I like Geno. I think him and DK and Tyler, that receiving core is loaded. It's so fun to watch. Who's the wide receiver? Oh, yeah, JSN, right?
I was going to say Jackson Smith-Nigby, yeah.
He's so talented. I was a huge fan in college. His ability to get separation is unbelievable. I really hope he continues that in the NFL. But overall, that team's really talented. They're unlike the Patriots. That team is amazing at drafting talent. I feel like
I think some Seahawks fans may question the Rashad Penny pick, but that's just me. That's just me.
I mean, Rashad Penny. I'll see you in the IFL in a couple years. But it's very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Seahawks guy, so I'm really excited to watch them win this division.
Okay. Kenyon, how about you, my man? What do you got out there in the West? Very interesting storylines coming out of the West this year too.
I wouldn't think to say the Seahawks would be one, but they'll probably be a strong two. And and then you gotta throw the Rams in there, like, there they are. There's your one. The Rams, I feel like the Rams are always a hard team to try to go against, and the defense is here. You know what I'm saying? They're here, they're in your face, and they're ready to play. So that's why I'm automatically going to give them that one, because defense wins championships. So I said that right. Defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships, yeah.
Yeah.
Justin, as a quarterback, hates that saying, I'm sure.
But. Well, no, I actually agree with that. I think defense wins championships and offense puts butts in seats.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Hey, there you go.
Right there.
Wise man, ahead of his time.
Well, but since we're talking about defense, I guess you forgot San Francisco exists. I mean, I've got the Niners winning the division, even despite the quarterback woes. I mean, I think Brock Purdy is the sole guy that leads that team. I'm a little surprised that he's back so quickly after the Tommy John-esque surgery. But I do think the Kyle Shanahan system, I do think the defense that is amazing there continues to carry this team and protects Brock Purdy until he gets fully healthy. Seattle, I think, makes the playoffs as well. They're too talented. They're too loaded offensively. Defense is actually pretty good as well. The Legion of Boom, I guess you can say, is on the return or is coming back based on how they played last year at times. And then I don't know how this happened, but I have the Rams sneaking into the playoffs at 8-9. I don't think the roster is what it used to be when they won the Super Bowl. But I do think Matthew Stafford will be better. And if it's not Matthew Stafford, I think old man, young man, whatever you want to call him, same age as me, but older than me, Stetson Bennett, I think, could go in and do a job and be a consummate professional and help them win games. So if I would take one, so I have three teams making the playoffs out of this division. I got San Francisco, Seattle, and LA. But if it's just my heart, I say Detroit actually gets the 7 seed over the Rams. But I do think the Rams kind of surprise people because I think a lot of people think they're going to be easily the third worst team in this division, but definitely are nowhere near the playoffs. I think they kind of return to more form than you've seen like last year. And then the Cardinals are terrible. I mean, the Cardinals worst roster in the NFL. Kyler's going to be out at least probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, if not longer. Yeah, it's not looking good in Arizona.
I think if Kyler even played, I think Arizona's still one of the worst teams in the league. I'm not a huge Kyler fan, so the Cardinals are going to be vying for the first overall pick next year. That's where they're going to be at. It's not pretty. That roster's not pretty at all. And the Rams are a very interesting thing. So Stafford and Cooper Kupp both got hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cam Akers played well and had some injuries, and then wasn't used because Sean McVay is very weird with that, and for some reason. But now he seems to be the primary guy. He seems like this offense is going to be, and Cooper Kupp's back and Matthew Stafford, but it's the lack of depth for me.
Yeah.
And that offensive line was horrible last year. So unless they can find a way to fix those issues, it could be a long season for the Rams, which is the reason why I don't necessarily think they make the playoffs. It is possible they get in just because of how bad the NFC is.
Yeah.
Like if you're only taking one from the South, and I don't think you can take I don't think you can guarantee two from the other ones. You could probably get three maybe out of one of them, but I mean, it's very wishy-washy with that when it comes to that for sure. But San Francisco for me is the best team in this division. Seattle's number 2. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba was a luxury pick that they necessarily didn't need to make per se. But Tyler Lockett is getting older, so they're thinking of the future in that sense. And then I didn't understand the Zach Charbonnet pick. Like Kenneth Walker ran for, and I get that the running back situation is everybody wants to try to get that, RBBC or whatever it is. And maybe the running back position is moving to like what they did with wide receivers. When wide receivers first started coming out, it was like one big primary guy, and then they threw a second guy out there just kind of like as a decoy, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, the second guy could be really important. So maybe we start seeing teams running 2 running backs on the field at all times, and they take away the third wide receiver, or they make the second tight end obsolete. I don't know what's going to happen with offenses. It's evolving all the time, but I just didn't understand the Charbonnet pick. I thought there was other players that could have helped with the position. So their linebackers are a little – like I know that they get back what's his name? Oh man, he was a stud for them 2 years ago, and he was hurt last year. But they get him back anyways. I saw that yesterday, so he was activated off the pop. All right, well, if I don't have anything else, we got final thoughts here. We got to wrap it up. It was a little bit longer than what I was expecting. I was hoping that we could just kind of run through that, but apparently we have a bunch of long-winded people here for the most part. So, any final thoughts for anybody? Tie you guys up any longer at all? No.
Yeah. My one question. So for you, Justin and Kenyon, you both have been through the NFL workout process. From what I understand, when they bring a guy in for an NFL workout mid-season, I guess how do you determine like how good a guy is from a workout? Like in the middle of the season, say they go 11 for 11 on all their throws. Is that enough for an NFL team to see?
So I'll speak from my perspective. A good thing is when they fly you in and you go to the workout midseason, things like that, you usually know by the end of the workout if you're staying on and if you've got yourself a locker. If not, you're on a plane back home and you're back home the same day. But I will say, like, they're inviting you based on a resume or an agent making a phone call or a need that they have, or they want to just kick the tires on you to still see, hey, are you mobile? Are you moving around? And the workout in a way is just to see, okay, is there any rust that he'll need to kick off? How is he right now? Like, is he in shape? Is he good? Send him through physicals, medicals, things like that. Just kind of get him on the field moving around, and then they'll go back, look at the film, see if he fits in with the offense. And every team has something different. So I've been to 3 of them, and one even put me up on a board, and the other 2 were just like, oh, thanks for coming. We really only invited you out to throw to receivers that we were more interested in. And at the end of the day, it's a business, it's a process. So you just kind of accept it, and you're like, all right, cool, put it on my resume, and move on. But no, that's my experiences with it. There might be different ones for Kenyon, but yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, mine are for sure different. I haven't been to an NFL one, so mine's strictly arena. So just off of it, a lot of arena teams have like open tryouts. You'll get an open like you can either go open
We're going
tryout.
arena, yeah.
Yeah, you can either go open tryout.
Yep.
Or
Nope. I think we lost him. Something disconnected there. Oh, there he is. He's back. Maybe. Well, you know, and not talking from a perspective yet from a standpoint, but I can't imagine that the indoor process for offensive linemen is the same as an outdoor process. I feel like that it's two very like, especially with the rule sets and in the indoor and arena leagues, I feel like it's a very two drastic difference. No, you're good, Kenyon.
Today.
No, it's fine. I was just explaining that to me, I think that the process indoors for an offensive lineman specifically, it might be different for quarterbacks too, even where Justin's had both.
So that's what I was going to say too. The differences between all my indoor opportunities and workouts, and I've even got some coming up here in a little bit, like a couple weeks out from now, some indoor stuff. But a lot of like the indoor or even CFL workouts and things like that are completely different. And a lot of them in a way are more just like open tryout. And it's more of, okay, you're going to come in here, you're going to do your physical testing, like your 40, your L drill, your shuttle. I mean, with the linemen, you might get, I've seen with some of them, linemen get cut out and you're like, hey, you can do the 15 or the 20-yard dash or do your 10-yard. But no, I mean, and then like with the skill guys and quarterbacks, it's all right. Now let's go do 1-on-1s or half line or 7-on-7. And then that's your tryout. And then that's how they bring you in off that. Linemen, I've seen you guys go 1-on-1 because I've been the guy catching the snap while you go 1-on-1. And I'm like, all right, please don't hit me. We're not in pads here. And then linemen with torn shirts and all that other kind of stuff, all mad that the chain got ripped off. And the arena CFL tryout route is pretty insane.
For sure. Much
different than my NFL experiences.
Well, I'm sure.
I like it. I think it's edgy. Like I like.
I like them too. I think they are edgy, and it brings out the best athletes. I mean, it's like you said, pressure makes diamonds, right? It either busts pipes or makes a diamond.
We gotta get you some merch for that too. Pressure makes diamonds. Like you gotta get. I mean, it's not something that we haven't heard before, but I mean the way you threw it in there, man. That's gotta get some kind of merch on that with that for sure.
T-shirts coming soon.
Look at me just throwing out merch ideas to everybody here. Bucket hats for Krish. Like,
I would love merch. I mean, I know Michael and I have talked about him making his special player T-shirt. So
I have a saying that when a player who has an opportunity, like primarily at the NFL level, but for the most part, players in general, and they go and do something stupid, I have a saying of just says, "These fucking players." Like that's just the saying is these fucking players, like just don't mess up, man. Yeah. Like just don't mess up, you know.
Put it on a T-shirt, nice little font, TFP.
Yeah. Like, oh man.
The TFP podcast. There you go.
So, anyways, that's going to do it for us here at the Gold Line Stand. Hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit longer than we hoped, but hopefully it was still entertaining enough across the board. And I got a little outro we're going to run here. And until next time, have a good night.
I'm a game changer.